all the questions towards this. No, but hey, good topics and stuff. But there's one thing I wanted to address too, or talk about is because James, I wanted you to share,
Yeah.
kind of what your upgrowing because you were born in the
yeah.
Philippines, right? Born and raised in the Philippines, right?
Yeah, born and bred, raised in the
Born and bred.
Philippines. Yeah, yeah, born in I was born in the capital, Manila. Never knew my father growing up, so only had photos of him. No idea who he is. And then so it was my sister. She's 5 years older than me. And then when I was born in Manila, my mom and my dad they separated. So then my mom decided to go back to where she was from, Cebu, to live with my grandparents. So
Sorry,
Yeah.
cut you. Is your father Filipino too?
Yeah, he's
Oh, okay,
Filipino,
okay.
yeah.
Because I know that there was like a influx of what do they call those, like impacts? Or,
yeah, expats.
Expats, yeah,
pretty much,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, you still see them there
Okay,
today. Yeah.
okay.
They still exist. Yeah. I was
Where are they at the bar?
Oh my gosh, yes, the bar, the
Yeah.
slummy years. They gotta get the, get
Yeah.
the broken girl,
Yeah.
the poor girl. It's just tough. It's just how it works sometimes. But so when I moved to Cebu to live with my grandparents, my mom was going to. I think she just finished her nursing school and everything like that, and then she had a best friend, that had an American husband. She had an American husband, and then they pretty much introduced my mom to my stepdad today. And they were like, "Hey, I have this friend. She's single, and blah 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 blah." And then I was like, "I don't know. Like, I don't know how that works and everything." So essentially, they started talking. My mom and my stepdad today. My stepdad wrote her letters like every day, every month. Called her every day, and what happened was that my mom was like, "Hey, just so you know, I have kids, and if you decide to marry me, you have to marry my kids and you have to marry my family." And it was like, "That's no problem. That's totally fine with me." So he came unexpectedly to see my mom, one day, and I was 3 years old at this time. They immediately fell in love. My grandparents approve of them, and then my mom was like, like, "I don't want to leave you guys. This is not something I want to do." And then my grandma was like, "Well, there are better opportunities, to live in the United States." So then it was a tough conversation to have with my grandparents, but she, decided to, like, it'd be best to go to the United States and live here, live there, and then provide money to y'all and to my kids. But she didn't bring my sister and I. And the reason being was that my mom was afraid of, like, how he was gonna turn out. Like, what happens if he switches up. When she gets over there. Like, what happens if it becomes this or becomes that? Now he has to, like, my mom now has to drag us along with this process.
Right.
That's kind of essentially what happened with my my biological dad. So my mom was kind of like, I don't know if I wanna do that.
Right.
So she left at the age of 3 years old. I was 3. She left my sister and I, year 2000, and then shortly after 9/11 happened, and then the green card process, the traveling process, was very very difficult. So I didn't get to see my mom for. I mean, I saw her. She came back like maybe like once every 2 to 3 years.
Wow. Yeah.
But I essentially grew up in the Philippines for almost 6 years, and my grandparents raised me from the age of 3 till like 10 years old. So that's where a lot of my morals and values
Yeah.
came up. Was
Those are very formative years.
very formative
3
years.
to 10.
Yeah, I didn't have a mom growing up, but I had my grandma. I didn't have a father figure growing up, but my grandpa didn't say much. Typical, Asian grandpa or Asian dad. Let's say.
Yeah.
Didn't say much. Didn't say anything at all besides through his actions and through his demeanor.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to imitate that as best as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's how.
Wow,
that's
that's so
where-
crazy.
Yeah.
You
That's
wouldn't
what kinda
see that
crazy
at all.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And,
that.
and then you were in the Philippines till 10, 11?
Yep, 3 till like I was like 10.
And then your mom was able to get you
Yep.
a green card and then come.
Yep,
Because then
yep.
she was a citizen then. At
Yeah,
that
she was a
point?
citizen. Yeah,
Good.
right when she got there, they got like married through the judge and everything like that. And then she became a citizen real quick. But the green card process was just so difficult because of, like, during that time there was so many things that was
Yeah.
happening with, like, the traveling process and everything. So it just made it really really difficult. She was able to come back, visit us, like, I think maybe 3 times in the past like 5 years, maybe 3 or 4 times, something like that. but the process was difficult. We had to like go to like the capital, my grandma and I, my sister, go talk to the U.S. embassy, ask us all these questions and everything.
Right.
So it was a tricky and tough process for
Yeah,
sure.
that sounds pretty difficult, especially as a child going through
Yeah.
that experience.
Yeah.
Your mom's back for like a little bit, and then she's gone, and then at some
Yeah.
point you almost accept that. Like I assume, right? I'm only assuming, but I'm assuming that at some point you almost accept, like, you know what, mom just doesn't live here with us. So,
Yeah.
so I love mom. I know mom, but she's not here. So I'm just gonna make my own life with my grandparents, and then you just almost, I'm assuming there's some level of acceptance that, like, okay, grandma and grandpa are pretty much they're my guardians.
Yeah, no, there
Yeah.
was that point where I always hated it. I always hated that the kids had dads. I always hated it that the kids had moms, and I just had grandparents.
Yeah.
And I hated that so much. I hated that I didn't have a father growing up. I hated that I didn't have a mother growing up, and that would come into my conscience like here and there, and then reality would hit me in the face pretty much and say like, but you have your grandparents, and that like was the only thing that kept me going like through that chaos in my life, was having my grandparents. So yeah, there was plenty of moments and plenty of times of like, this is how I didn't even know that I was going to the United States. First of all, I didn't even know that I was.
Yeah, when did you find that out?
Yeah.
It wasn't until probably like when my mom came back. She was like, "Hey, you know, I'm gonna like at 10 years old." When she came back, she was like, "You know, this whole time I've been trying to get you to the United States," and I was like, "I didn't know. I thought you were just gonna come visit us." You know,
Like,
here
yeah,
and
just
there.
like before, you're gonna
just
come
before
visit.
that.
That's all.
And then I didn't really realize until the day I got into that taxi, the day that my mom was saying goodbye to my grandma. That day I was sitting in a taxi with my sister, with my half brother. I sat there. I was like, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was excited. I was absolutely excited. And then reflecting back on it today as an adult, on how sad it was to see my grandparents lose their grandkids. And
Yeah,
that-
yeah, yeah. Well, they raised you.
Exactly.
They raised you. That's what's wild.
That was crazy part. So yeah,
You were how old?
10 years old.